But one stock which is taking it on the chin right now is Lupin. After it disappointed with its earnings, we got a chance to speak with the management. Let's listen into what they had to tell us.
Lupin is a company that has declared numbers and margins are clearly looking disappointing. Just to get more perspective about this, what really happened, is there a one-off or not? Ramesh Swaminathan here from Lupin is now with us. Ramesh, firstly, thank you for taking out time for us. I know you have a packed schedule on back-to-back meetings, but let's start with the first thing first. Margins, have come in pretty low. Lupin has a high standards of greater than 20% margins, but for the last 4-5 quarters, something or the other keeps coming up. Can you talk to us about margins in Q4 and what's the trajectory ahead?
Yeah, thank you for asking me that question, and thank you for having me on. I would like to clarify certainly on the margins front. Our sales this particular quarter were lower than in fact the previous quarters, both in America and India region. India, of course, it is because of the seasonality factor itself. But you speak about America, it's come down from 201 to $181 million. A number of reasons. One is essentially because of the fact that we had losartan, we had a NDMA issue with it, and to the extent there are recalls out there. That's factored in the overall sales as a reduction. We couldn't sell, and there's of course a recall itself. Both have been factored in. There has also been price erosion across various molecules, including levothyroxine. In a general sense, the American OSD business is under tremendous pressure. So we have been recognizing this for the last several quarters, and we have actually guided accordingly. Even at the beginning of this, the current year, we didn't expect, in fact, the kind of decline that actually took place, but there was, in fact, a decline in famotidine. There was a decline in other products as well on the OSD front, and this has actually impacted us. When if you speak about margins itself, it is going to be a function of three things: your top line, your ability to bring down costs, and of course your R&D function. What kind of costs you actually incur on that. Insofar as our top line is concerned in America, it's not been moving much in the last 3 years, so to speak, essentially because of OAI on various facilities, and because of that, our ability to bring out new products has been stymied quite a bit. We of course brought in albuterol, and that's in fact our mainstay in our amongst the products in America. But this is not to speak about going forward things would remain the same. Things would certainly for during the course of this year itself, we would expect a lot more newer products towards the end of Q3, second half, you would have like Suprep coming in, you'll have Spiriva, and a number of products on inhalations and complex injectables and all of that lined up, and that's for the future. Except for the American business, in a general sense, our other businesses have been doing very well, including India. So whilst the margins are down right now, and I would expect this to continue for the next about a couple of quarters, the second half certainly is looking much better. So from Q4 onwards, we would be very sure that the margins would be in line with, in fact, a historical path, so to speak.
Right. Just in terms of other expenditure, it went up pretty sharply. Was there any particular one-off in the quarter?
Yeah, there were one-offs. As I was telling you, it is essentially because of, losartan, they had the NDMA issues. It has impacted the top line, but there is also write-offs which he took in. Besides that, there were in fact other one-off expenditure, which is essentially we lost this case against Solosec, and we had to take a provisioning on that in terms of litigation expenses and penalties to be paid. There is last quarter, in fact, we had settlement income which didn't feature in this quarter. No certain write-offs. So all of this actually featured in the current year. So we are in the current quarter. And one-offs in a general sense were close to about close to 180 crores for this quarter alone.
Right. Can you also just talk to us about what's really happening with the US business? I mean, you have a $800 million run rate. That's by no means slow. But some of the other thing comes up for the last couple of years impacting the margins, particularly in the US business. What's happening with albuterol? Are you seeing price erosion over there?
Last year was different because we had actually more spot contracts. During the course of this, in the beginning of this year, we entered into long-term contracts. So longer tenor obviously means there's more stability. At the same time, it is going to be at a reduced cost. To that extent, whilst the overall magnitude of albuterol sales has increased, the overall realizations are tad lower as compared to the previous year. And this is on expected lines. Our albuterol share is close to about 22-23% right now. This is again on expected lines. America business, as I was saying, we are unable to kind of leverage on the pipeline that we had built, at least insofar as the OA, insofar as OST is concerned, because of OAI. And things would normalize with, in fact, a pipeline which is strong enough on the OST front, of course, though, of course, there is tremendous competition there and there are headwinds. But we are relying more on the complex generics going forward, which includes the entire inhalation space, the complex injectables, and the like.
Right. In terms of the India business, do you see that continuing to grow? I mean, that's the main business where you're making margins. Do you expect that to be the main business, especially on the branded side?
Yes, for sure. If you look at, in fact, even this year, year on year, we have been growing close to about 13%. Q4 was lower because that's historically Q4 has always been the weakest. We are very bullish about our overall prospects in the Indian market, and we would continue to grow and outpace the market in this region.
Right. Just in terms of the US pricing pressure, you told us that there is pricing pressure across the board. Can you just talk to us? How will you move up the value chain? Is that R&D spend enough, or you will have to increase your investments to go up the value chain to get more growth in US?
Yeah, the total magnitude of, in fact, R&D spends would be more or less in the same vicinity as in the past, but there is going to be a lot more emphasis on, in fact, complex generics as we go forward. It has already taken place, during the last couple of years. It moved away from, in fact, OST more into, the therapy areas that I just spoke about, which includes, in fact, the respiratory inhalations portfolio. We have the complex injectables and biosimilars. This is going to be the mainstay of our overall R&D spends in the years to come.
Right, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out time for us. Always good to get perspective from you. Hope we'll see you once again. Of course, in mid-quarter as well, if you have any updates on any approval, any site facility, and you would like to talk about it to our viewers.
It would be my pleasure too. Thank you.